When I was growing up, I did not have parents that talked to me about money very much until I had gotten a little older. They had already gone bankrupt more than once. When they did start talking to me about money, it was more like, oh, someday you'll get to earn a job and have some wages and you can save up to buy things. And eventually, when I got old enough, I started just learning about money of my own accord and stuff. At one point, I went over budgeting with my mother, but in reality, I developed my own system for budgeting, and it works a lot better for me. So, and for the people that I help with budgeting. So, it is an important thing for sure to understand budgeting and saving, but never once did investing come up, except the one time my mother was like, oh, I heard about the stock market and you can put all your money in this mutual fund and it'll grow in a few years. And I did that and I lost half my money. She did not know what she was talking about at all, and that mutual fund was a terrible investment, but she had no idea about that because she had no idea. She was just excited. And sometimes we do that. We learn just enough about something to get excited about it, but not enough about it to understand why that excitement might need to be tempered with some understanding of why this is not maybe the best thing to get excited about, but the idea or the concept of investing is good to get excited about. But I didn't get that out of that situation, and it took me 2 decades to get back to where I could trust the stock market again. And so I want to go ahead and say, having that kind of a really negative experience with the stock market right off and losing thousands of dollars when that was what I had at the time, as a teenager, that was really hard for me. And it definitely left some sort of a formative experience or impression on me or whatever that I had to overcome. A lot of people are extremely intimidated by investing, by the stock market and stuff like that. And I want to say, start with something really small. There were some major mistakes in what my mother told me. Like, we didn't research or look into that mutual fund in any way before doing it, other than that she heard something about it from someone. I don't even know who. And that's not a good reason to invest. So first things first, find a solid brokerage company. A lot of people go with like Vanguard or Fidelity Investments, or I've seen MY1 Finance or Charles Schwab or Morgan Stanley, whatever you want. The point is find a real one. Don't go with some little like crazy side one that's like offering you crappy whatever for joining up, but then it turns out they're not actually insured. CDIC insurance or FDIC insurance, you need to go with a company that's actually insured so that your money is protected. It's very important. But once you pick a company, don't just invest in whatever. Actually research it. Even if I say, hey, here's one that I know of that's not too bad, don't just immediately jump and do that. I've seen people before, they go to a YouTube video about, here's my top 6 ETFs, and they immediately just go invest in those 6 ETFs. Even though the person in the video is saying, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take this as matter of fact. But they still do, because they're so intimidated about learning anything about it or researching anything about it that they'll just jump on it. Someone in a YouTube video a year ago could have been saying, oh yeah, get cryptocurrencies and join FTX. And right now, that person is hurting, like really bad. All their finances is gone that they put into FTX. And they're broken. They were so intimidated and so scared to research it all. And then that really, really affects you. The other thing I will say is don't put all your money in right away. Don't be so excited that you're like, you know what? Here's my savings. My savings, it's losing money every day because of inflation. That's true. Not wrong. But putting all of it into your new little brokerage account that you just made, or your new little retirement account that you just made, and risking it all right away is not smart. It's not going to help you feel secure. And if you do lose money on it, it can put a bad taste in your mouth that can cost you money for decades. Like me, my little teenage self, losing money on the stock market because I had no clue about anything except my mother said to do this. And yeah, I could have been doing actually researched, healthy investments and getting money this entire time. Instead, I had to wait and recover from the shock of losing all my money like that, well, more than half of it like that, and rebuild trust with the idea of investing. Start with something small. There is no amount too small to start with. Get the ideas about investing down before you start putting more in. Most accounts are either 3 things in them, or else some people do half and half. I don't recommend half and half personally. I'm not a financial advisor, so take it with a grain of salt. Research for yourself if a half and half sounds easy and simple to you, enough that you just want to go with it and take the risk. But I personally view putting half of your investments in, say, a Roth IRA into one stock and then half of it into like bonds, that's just not good to me. That's not enough diversification for me. One of the big things that was a problem with my mother's plan when I was a teenager of investing everything into this mutual fund was that it was just one single mutual fund. There was nothing else. So I am a big fan of diversification on top of diversification. Personally, I do not, in my own retirement accounts and stuff like that, in my own investments, I do not have a single stock. That's just a stock because it's not diverse enough for me. Index funds, REITs, ETFs, all that kind of stuff, there's multiple stock portions inside of them. So I am diversifying by having multiples of those types of things, and then also extra diversifying because those things are actually diversified as a whole. I like doing it that way because I trust it a lot more, because if something bad happens, it's way more spread out. My money is way more spread out, which means I'm not losing as much. Other things are not doing as bad, which means it's helping counterbalance if something goes wrong. Now, for the majority part, things tend to go forward a little bit, and there tends to be more gain than loss. Especially when you research before you invest into something and you feel confident, or at least decently confident, that you understand enough about the businesses that are being invested into that you can feel some sort of trust there. I feel like these businesses are the future, or I feel like these businesses have been consistent in the past. Those are very important things to know personally. Also, having really low annual fees or commission fees or trading fees is really important to know also. But in reality, the biggest thing I really, really want to say is no amount is too small to start with. When you very first start out, if you need to just do $10, even $1, take that $1 and split it up into what you need to. Say you want to do one index fund that's like a really steady, easygoing, not gonna have very much volatility, ups and downs in it. I personally highly recommend that. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, and it's not the quickest way to get money from investing, but it is a very low risk, if you pick a good index fund, way to keep things steady, to help counterbalance if something that's maybe a little more risky has an issue, okay? So it's a way to protect some of your money, but still have a tiny little bit coming back on it. And so say you do that, invest 30 cents into it. and then another 30 cents into something that you're really excited about, and then 30 cents into something that's like a middle ground between being you're excited about it but maybe it's a little risky, and it's this really slow, steady, low interest returns, but at least there's some returns index fund. Like, I like to do things like that. Personally, the point is to understand before you start investing a lot. Once you've invested your 30 cents, your 30 cents, and your 30 cents, go into your portfolio and figure out where you turn your auto reinvestment on, because you want to have anything that comes and gains, basically interest that you gain from those investments, you want that to auto reinvest for minimum the first 10 years that you invest into the stock market. The reason you want that is the stock market is not meant to be a quick game, it's meant to be a long game. It's not meant to be a sprint, it's meant to be a marathon. There are people who manage to make money sprinting, but mathematically, statistically, the majority of people who do well on the stock market do well because they stayed in there for a decent amount of time. So you want stuff to auto reinvest. Now, that doesn't mean you have to keep that same exact thing for the 10 years. It just means that while you're holding that thing, that it's auto reinvesting in itself, so that if you do choose to sell it and get something else, at least it's worth more. And you don't want to be taking a ton of money out of there, because this isn't meant to be a get-rich-quick scheme. It's meant to be, let's invest in my future self. It's really important to take a really small amount of money, research what you want to, and do that. Maybe you don't feel secure even doing $1. Even $1 feels intimidating to you. Do it with fake money. Pretend, okay? Now, this is a little more annoying because you have to actually keep track yourself, but say, okay, if I made an investment account today, I was gonna invest in this S&P 500 ETF, this, index fund over here for the whole world market, and how about this little bond section over here? Track. A week later, say, okay, here's how they did. This is how historically they did for the last, 10, 25 years, and here's how they did this week. If I had put 30 cents into each of these, how would I have done? And then a week later, check it again. And after a month, you've checked it for a whole month, maybe you will develop some sort of confidence. You can make adjustments. You can be like, oh, this one was a bad choice, but this one's a better choice. Now, realize that things can drop down in a month and then the very next month go up. That's sort of how the stock market just is. It goes up and down, forward and backward, forward and backward. That's just how it moves. It's filled with waves. So you might just be on a month where that particular item didn't do that great. So take that with a grain of salt. But the point is it's zero money, but you're still learning something. You're still growing in your understanding. Once you get to where you feel pretty confident in putting in $1 into sections where you like it, try it with $10. Once you get $10 done, try it with 50 or 100. Try doing the idea of investing into things that you feel comfortable investing in, and understanding how to do that, and understanding how to set them up to reinvest in themselves with a small amount of money before you start putting more and more money in there. A lot of people, they just put like, $100 a month into their investment accounts. Maybe you can't afford to do that. Maybe you can only afford to put $10 into your investment account a month, or $1 into your investment account a month. That's okay. It's okay if you're starting from a small spot. There is no small enough spot that is too small for you to start. If you are too anxious, too scared doing even $5, it's okay to do $1. The point is to understand that it's okay to invest. Just research what you're investing into and be able to sleep at night. instead of being worried or like, oh God, what's gonna happen? You know, just take a deep breath. It is overwhelming, and there is so much jargon and lingo that's used for investments and stuff. It's ridiculous how not in layman's terms it is presented. It is intentionally intimidating. You're not stupid, you're not like poor at managing yourself or something like that. You're not bad at doing this. It's a little bit of a hurdle to get into it in the first place if you've never encountered it at all. It's okay if you need to learn first. The goal isn't to be like getting rich fast. The goal is to be getting a little more than what you have now. And your future self will thank you. Your future self will be like, thanks. That's so much better than just if we had set the money aside and it went down because of inflation on how much each dollar was worth. Like, you know, it offsets that inflation by investing. And you might not have the biggest retirement account. That's okay. It is totally okay. But don't be so completely intimidated or overwhelmed that you won't touch it, that you won't take any action at all. Because if you can just learn a teeny tiny little bit, you can get your foot through the door enough that you can have some sort of marginal profit coming in. And marginal profit has gotten some people to easy living in their retirement. Marginal profit can get you a long way. Consistency can get you really far in life. So cut yourself some slack, do your best, and know that it's going to be okay.